समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
You are simply not getting along with your political boss, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. The minister says to you that you treat her like a bachchi and you have been quote-unquote bitching about her.
Possibly the feedback or anything she got made her a little biased towards me. She started feeling that...
Shuru se hi.
I think right from the beginning.
This cabinet meeting to take back the ordinance is after Rahul Gandhi has publicly made his displeasure clear.
Absolutely.
While the Prime Minister is outside India.
Yes.
Now he comes back from his US trip.
Yes.
And the cabinet is convened.
On the day he landed, in the evening of that day,
Yeah.
The cabinet was convened, and there I could see visible distress on the face of the Prime Minister. He was a man of very few words. He would not say much, and he simply said, "If it is to be done, let us do it." That, but you can feel the helplessness.
Your book is called No Minister. It upends the idea of the sycophantic civil servant as captured in the hit series Yes Minister. And the book is a riveting read. It takes us deep inside the relationship between a bureaucrat and political powers. So let me start where your book ends. Your book ends with your decision to leave the civil services.
Correct.
And things come to a head because you are simply not getting along with your political boss, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. This is well documented in your book. And there are a series of different sort of incidents. And at one point, the minister says to you that you treat her like a bachchi and you have been quote-unquote bitching about her. You say that this is not true, but you feel that she has her mind made up already. Let's start there. What went wrong between you as Finance Secretary and Nirmala Sitharaman as Finance Minister?
See, Barkha, I worked with many ministers, and she was my maybe 25th or 26th minister. So it's not unusual for an officer to work with the ministers. Right? Before her, it was Arun Jaitley for 2 years. Piyush Goyal also came in between. So that is what changed was that when she came over as finance minister, possibly the feedback or anything she got made her a little biased towards me. She started feeling that...
Shuru se hi.
I think right from the beginning, when we were briefing her on the day one of her arrival, I could see the vibes, the body language or something, where she seemed to be sort of getting a sense that one of the things was that she probably felt that I was running the finance ministry, where she is a very articulate, dominating, an effective kind of minister, and who would like to be seen that she runs the show. If that is where she would start, so to say, and those were very high, sort of charged kind of situation. Budget was to be delivered only in 35 days. There was G20 summit in Japan, the month of June. Finance minister was to go, then Prime Minister was to go. Many other things were also happening. So in that surcharged kind of atmosphere, if she made up that kind of mind, so slowly, in about 2 weeks' time or so, this came out that she started venting her bit of frustration, so to say.
Why did she feel you treated her like a bachchi and you were
that-
quote unquote bitching about her? She said this to you, right?
That's what
Did
she
she say
said.
that? Did she say this to you in so many words?
Exactly, that's what I have quoted. So before that, on that day, that fateful day, so to say, there was a meeting with which we have pre-budget consultations. And at one point of time, she said, don't think I can't violate you in public before the other ones.
Let's describe that meeting, because you write about it in your book. It's a pre-budget meeting with stakeholders.
Correct.
And in this meeting, she turns around to the group and says that she will go by your opinion because you've been there for a long time and you're much older than her. And then in this same meeting, per your book, she turns to you and says, don't think I can't violate you.
Correct.
What does this mean actually?
So this is what gave me a little bit of sort of confused message that she's struggling, probably inside herself. At one moment she says that she'll go by what I'm suggesting or saying, and in another minute she turns around and say that don't think I can't violate. And all in the public. You never
How did
do
you
it.
react?
So I just kept my cool. And after that meeting, I went to her room. And that is where this encounter kind of thing, she was literally beside herself, not in control of herself.
She was livid, you say in the book.
Livid, of course. And that
But
is,
what did you do to make her livid?
no, this is the
Do you
background.
think, no, I know, but do you think there was any particular issue or attitude or disagreement that made her this livid?
I think there are a number of things. For example, I also described the serious difference of opinion about how the RBI's surplus issue was to be handled.
Correct.
She wanted me to retract, not put a dissent note. I said, ma'am, I'll do it only if you give me in writing. But she wouldn't give in writing. There were many other policy issues coming up. Something happened in Japan, which I also described. So there was a background to it. And on top of it, perhaps a lot of briefing which she got from others about the way probably I had spent 2 years. And Arun Jaitley's time was one where the minister was literally taking a back seat in the sense that he was also a little unwell and for all these reasons. And he had a different view about how to run. He used to say, it's the secretary's job to run the finance ministry. My job is to look at the basic big policy issues and nothing more. And in that, against that background, the way we were running it, so we will write budget speech, for example, and then the minister will only contribute whatever additional or changes she wants. So all of this, I think, gave her an impression. That's where. And
She thought you were too big for your boots.
maybe. And that is where I was surprised to hear this.
Did you ever sort of try and reason it out with her and say, ma'am, you have the wrong impression. Why are you angry?
That's exactly I went for that. Because after that episode in the
Stakeholders meeting. Yeah.
I went precisely for this to say that we have a budget to deliver. You may not be liking me for whatever reasons, and after the budget things may change. I might be moved somewhere else or whatever. And if you have anything else in mind what to do about it, we can readjust the way we work in the ministry. But if you are sort of faced with a situation where the other side, the minister, feels so charged up, so to say, and start saying you are not sort of attuned or prepared to hear this kind of language. So that surprised me. In fact, I in a way apologized to her. I said, if I have done anything knowing or unknowingly, let me know. Then she said, no, I'll go by what you say, and you continue to do what you're doing. Simultaneously, she went to, maybe before, maybe after, to the Prime Ministers to say that this man should be removed.
And I think at one point you say that Nripendra Mishra, who's then the big boss in the Prime Minister's office, does tell you that she's complaining about you.
Absolutely.
And therefore you cannot be there. But before you can actually be sent to another posting in the long run, You describe an episode in your book with where things come to a head, and in your mind you decide, your book ends with that note, that is the day I decided to leave the IAS, leave the civil services. What happened?
Correct. So I'm used to, or maybe any civil servant is used to working with different kind of ministers. So, and transfers are a very normal thing in our life. I might have been transferred 25 times earlier also. And in circumstances worse than that. So that's not a big deal. And my mental makeup is one where I treat every posting to be same. So it doesn't matter to me whether I am working at X place or Y place. So if she was to engineer the transfer, doesn't matter. I would have, but two things happened. One, which I describe here, is that a note sheet, in government system, the note sheet portion is something where the officers or anybody else expresses his or her opinion, because that's for posterity, that's for everything, right? So whatever you feel, you state. And your boss may disagree with you. You get overruled, doesn't matter. That becomes a decision. But everything must remain on that file for posterity to see how that kind of decision was taken. And in a matter where I had a different opinion, which she initially agreed, but the Prime Minister and in PMO had another opinion. So we said, fair enough. Whatever is the decision, let's record it. The decision was recorded. But she wouldn't sign that file. She made the then DFS Secretary, Rajiv, to rewrite the whole note sheet.
So basically, just to explain this to our audience.
It. That is something which I had never done in my life. And I thought if this becomes a kind of norm, if this becomes a kind of thing, so that is not where you...
So the minister was not comfortable or not willing to sign files which had disagreements by civil servants on them. And in this particular case, she wanted those disagreements to be removed from the file.
Absolutely.
And you write in your book that you had never done anything like this before, but you went along with it because it was budget time and you didn't want to jeopardize the budget.
I made my decision.
But you decided at that time that you were going to quit.
Absolutely.
Do you regret that decision sometimes?
No, I am absolutely happy about it.
The acknowledgements or the foreword to your book is for your wife and your children, and you say that your sons saw nothing remarkable in the bureaucracy, so they decided not to pursue a career in it.
Nothing extraordinary.
But when you look back at it, do you sometimes think, why did I become a civil servant?
No, I had a fabulous career. My 36 years in IAS.
But you left on a note of cynicism.
Not really.
No?
No.
It was a calm decision?
Absolutely. And for that was the second reason which I said why. So when I was offered to go anywhere, and this was in absolutely cordial atmosphere, nothing as a punishment or anything. They said, we're considering you to shift to Power Ministry, but tell me if you want to go anywhere else, whatever is your choice, we'll give you. Because that was the kind of impression. So I said, but my reasoning was that if I go from the finance ministry to work somewhere else, where the place is important, there is nothing wrong about it. Any of those.
You're saying the same disagreements would have happened? Possibly. No.
Even that was not my consideration. I thought I would work in a smaller space. The area of the scope of my work would become a sector or quite
But
limited.
Mr. Mishra, who, as I said, was then sort of the big man in the Prime Minister's office, he at one point, after these run-ins with Nirmala Sitharaman, told you that you are not in tune with the government.
That's another track where in last 5 or 6 months, Mr. Nupendra Mishra in particular had developed a viewpoint that I was not doing all that which the government expected to do.
So we'll come to some of those disagreements a little later, but I want to stick with this idea of what the working relationship is like between a bureaucrat and a politician.
Right.
And so Nirmala Sitharaman we've spoken to. Another complicated relationship that your book documents is with BJP leader Vasundhara Raje, former chief minister, who you describe, quote unquote, as an officially split personality. And you talk about her virtues, which was her efficiency, her hard work, and so on. But when you are actually, in a way, pulled out of Rajasthan by the Modi government at the center in 2014, she reacts very badly. And she, in a way, holds you responsible. I mean, she's angry with you, even though it's not necessarily your choice what is happening. And you locate that whole churn in the larger framework of tensions between Prime Minister Modi, who has just taken charge as Prime Minister in his first term, and Ms. Raje Scindia. So talk about that. Like, what happened? And you, Mr. Rajiv Maharishi, you write, are both taken out of Rajasthan and brought to Delhi. And then she just refuses to talk to you.
See, the first thing, I think this is to an extent a politician's dilemma or difficulty. A politician like Vasundhara Raje, who would like to do a lot of reforms, infrastructure, run a government which is seen as efficient, delivering on public aspirations and things like that. That is one goal which they have in their life. I think the other one is, which is what makes the story more complicated, is that they have to win election. They have to keep many people on their side by satisfying their vested interests and things like that. And probably they also have to sort of make a lot of money for financing elections or whatever. Now, that is where I think the politician like Mrs. Vasundhara Raje, she was able to sort of segregate these two.
And that is
so
why you're
remarkably,
saying, when you say officially split personality, what do you mean?
That's exactly what I mean, that there is one area, like we were working in the finance, expenditure, taxes and all that. In that side, it's I can say, I've said this in the book, I would say any day, because later events can't bias me to revise my opinion about what is so good.
Sure.
Is that it was very, very efficient, completely clean administration, very reformist, forward-looking kind of thing, an ideal kind of an expenditure minister things. That is the one side of the story, right? But the second, most of it which was not with concerning us, something happening in JDA or in the land cases, etc., outside us, where we are not involved in anything of the sort. But there was one area where the finance department was also, I was involved in a way, was the excise issues, the liquor. And that is where I've described those cases where the game in excise, where there was definitely an attempt to sort of make something out of it. And
make something out of it means?
Money to collect some money, obviously. That's what I, for her or for her party or for her party fund or whatever. And when I tried to stop that, I was divested of charge first. First, I was told that don't look at this side at all. And then I was divested of the charge. So, the little bit of overlap between the two sides of her was there in the excise. Now, to come to your question about it, but on the whole,
it was a smooth working relationship.
It was, by and large, you see, life is not all
black and white. Yeah, sure.
Right.
But the tipping point comes when you are basically transferred out of Rajasthan and brought to Delhi, or that's your order, posting order. And she gets very enraged about that. And alongside you, another key officer, Rajiv Maharishi. And you write in the book that this might have been the larger political friction, the political dynamics within the BJP between her and the Prime Minister. But in a way, you got caught up in that. And after that, she wouldn't meet you, she wouldn't talk to you.
So there are two aspects to it. One, her personal reaction to my being posted in the World Bank as executive director. Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't to Delhi. The posting was to World Bank.
Correct. And being pulled out, where she would rightly think that and Rajiv is with her to deliver her agenda, right? to deliver development in Rajasthan, and if she is being deprived of, so how does she deal with it vis-a-vis me?
Sure.
Right. And the kind of mind one may have, you start believing, because these are very lucrative positions in the World Bank and all, that maybe I was angling for it, I was working behind her back and things like that. And if your mind works in a bit of a conspiratorial way or suspecting kind of way, then you start believing that, oh, this guy might have been working all without keeping me completely in dark. And that's what
so she felt betrayed.
Yeah, so exactly. So she might have felt betrayed, and she would develop instant anger. And there was a bit of a frustration also. I document this, that her first reaction was that she'll not allow me to go to World Bank. Because she is the chief minister, the state can refuse, so to say. And she asked the chief secretary to write a letter. The letter was also drafted, but it was not sent because people told her
there's no point.
There is the other side is something you can't
take on,
and the letter was not sent. So it builds more of frustration. And if you can't take on the other guy, you take it on whoever you can. So I became
the fall guy. So and she never met you after that?
Of course not. So I made a request. I made a request. It's not she. I also have not met. So both of us have not met each other after that. I made a request that I would go. I'm going. And she made it a point not to come to the meeting until I was transferred and relieved. And all that happened as a kind of reaction to her taking umbrage at this kind of thing. And so I made a courtesy request to his office, to her office, to say that we are going. So can I just say a farewell kind of thing, or goodbye?
And she declined that.
So she didn't. I made one more request. That was also not responded. I said, fair enough. I have done my job. I have made my request. All right, if you don't want to meet, that's fine.
So from the drama of these two stories, which are from the BJP years, let's take the clock back a little bit to the UPA years.
Yes.
And there is a very, I think, interesting ringside view you have about the Rahul Gandhi and the ordinance, the famous or the notorious ordinance story. And at that time, or in your book, you say that you believe that Dr. Manmohan Singh, then Prime Minister, was humiliated twice. First, you believe that his heart was not in approving this ordinance. And just for background context to our audience, basically the Supreme Court comes with an order that says that a convicted politician should not be allowed to continue, holding his or her position in the legislature unless there is a specific stay on the conviction from another court. And at that time, the UPA is dependent politically. It is widely believed that this ordinance was to keep the relationship going with the RJD, Lalu Prasad Yadav. And this ordinance bypasses the Supreme Court order. You write in your book that you believe that Dr. Manmohan Singh was humiliated twice. First, with the idea of the ordinance itself, in which his heart was not there and he didn't strongly enough sort of resist it as Prime Minister. The second, when Rahul Gandhi publicly trashes the ordinance and says this ordinance should be torn up and makes the hand gesture, which is now very famous, while the Prime Minister is in America. And by the way, I was reporting that trip in America, so this all played out in front of us. And there are those who worked with him who believe that was the moment he should have resigned and so on.
Yeah.
Talk about that, what you saw, what you observed.
See, we didn't have the ringside view in America, how it was
played out
on her, but we saw what Mr. Rahul Gandhi did on the television and those kind of things.
You were in Cabinet.
I was in Cabinet Secretariat. I was additional secretary in charge of the Cabinet, and so all those which went into the Cabinet passed through me, and that is where. So my sort of familiarity is in twofold. First, when the ordinance was brought in.
Which you say is the first humiliation for Dr. Singh.
So we had some internal discussions. There was no one even in the Cabinet Secretariat was happy about that ordinance. ordinance, because that is, in a way, was something like Shabano kind of thing, that you are trying to undo a Supreme Court judgment which is perfectly right. The corrupt politicians who have been proven corrupt have no
Convicted.
right to sit in the parliament. But we were officials, so we can't prevent if the executive has decided to bring this as a law. So that was passed through, but we can see the palpable sense of frustration when the file went to the Prime Minister. I was told, I didn't go, that he wasn't also very happy
Pleased.
about it. But he signed that, all right, if it has to be done. So like a bureaucrat, he also signed, and the thing happened.
I mean, his roots were as a bureaucrat.
Exactly. So a pliant kind of. So that is the first kind of thing, where we had only an indirect sort of. The second humiliation, while public humiliation took place in US elsewhere, the cabinet meeting was convened.
Yeah.
We all sat there. The only agenda was this ordinance, which was to be taken back because...
So hang on, this cabinet meeting to take back the ordinance is after Rahul Gandhi has publicly made his displeasure clear.
Absolutely.
While the Prime Minister is outside India.
Yes.
Now he comes back from his US trip.
Yes.
And the cabinet is convened.
On the day he landed, in the evening of that day,
Yeah.
The cabinet was convened because it had to be rushed way. And the cabinet is convened where the only point of or discussion is this, or the agenda is this. And there I could see visible distress on the face of the Prime Minister. He was a man of very few words. He would not say much. And he simply said, okay, if it is to be done, let us do it. But you can feel the helplessness. And to my mind, that was the second humiliation.
And as a bureaucrat watching this, you have no active role in it, but you are witnessing an important political moment.
See, as a bureaucrat, we do contribute to the policy making. Here,
there was opposition to the ordinance. You write in your book that the ordinance should never have existed.
Exactly.
But the way to take it back, or the reason or the context to take it back, was a humiliation for Manmohan Singh.
So, and here it makes difference what position in the bureaucracy you are sitting. We are part of the cabinet secretariat. It's the cabinet secretary who is the boss of the cabinet secretary. He takes the final call. The joint secretaries and additional secretaries assist him. Imagine if I was the cabinet secretary. How would I have reacted? Probably, it's a hypothetical situation. The first instance itself, I would have perhaps gone back to the political bosses that this is not something.
Did that happen?
No, this didn't happen because the then cabinet secretary was not. He was playing. He was prepared to carry out the instructions of the politicians. That is what happens in many other places, where, like in finance ministry where we were. So if a Piyush Goyal would want certain kind of bonds to be allowed to be issued, we feel it differently. We go back, make all the efforts to see that scheme doesn't work.
But there was no attempt at this time to even argue out the ordinance when it was first proposed by the bureaucrats.
It was within the official circle. That's bad. But there was no attempt
formally
Absolutely.
Oppose it.
Absolutely.
And therefore you saw what you call the twin humiliation of Dr. Manmohan Singh. There were other moments you record from your UPA years, a moment when Jayanti Natarajan, then Environment Minister, keeps the Prime Minister waiting. She turns up to a meeting 40 minutes late. You in those years have a big run-in with Chandrababu Naidu. Was it the UPA years or was that later in the NDA?
That was much before.
That was earlier.
Chandrababu Naidu is 2004-05.
So Vajpayee years.
Vajpayee
years, right. So I'll come to Chandrababu later then because I'm trying to go chronologically. So in the UPA years, you record this moment with Jayanti Natarajan and then with Kamal Nath. What happens then? Mr. Kamal Nath takes over the house allotment, which is always as urban development and so on. What happens? Tell us that story.
So we are all living in Delhi. So
Yes.
he had virtually cornered allotment in the New Moti Bagh, which had come up that time as a very good posh kind of bungalows for the civil servants and others. So the rule said that 5% across the categories of the houses. You have houses from A to H kind of thing, so or category 1 to 8th kind of thing. And so it should be split all across and not that you can sort of combine all of them in one category and virtually make 100% allotment there. It's discretionary allotment. Now, even those discretionary, compassionate kind of allotment, there is a rule that who is entitled, who is not entitled. What Mr. Kamal Nath did was to turn that compassionate kind of allotment subject to rules into a completely personal allotment business. That,
Explain.
That he would allot to whoever he wants. You can oblige people, you can make people feel better or something. But that is one part of the story. The other one was that any of those allotments from that discretionary quota or out of turn allotment kind of thing need to come to a committee on housing, and that committee has to approve that, and then that allotment should be made. That's the normal procedure. But he would make many allotments, and then when there is a sort of pile up of 10, 15, 20 kind of such out of turn allotments having been made, he would ask that let us complete the formality of this endorsement by the Committee on Housing Allotment. Now, it so happened that when I was the Additional Secretary, such a proposal came. And when I studied that, it violates everything and converts a cabinet committee into virtually a rubber stamp. And that also many, many months removed post fact. I said, this is not the way the government should be running. This is not the way you do the allotments. This is so
you objected in writing?
I objected in writing.
What happened then?
So I wrote a note. I went to Ajit Seth, the cabinet secretary. I said, this is what is happening. He was obviously aware because earlier, but once it was there in the note, I said, talk to the Prime Minister, stop this. This cannot go on. So after some cajoling, he did go to the Prime Minister with that subject. And Prime Minister said by Defense Minister is the head of that committee. Go and explain to him. So I was told that now your job is to go to Mr. Thomas, I think, the Kerala politician who was the defense minister at that time. Go and explain to him. So we sought time to go and explain to him. We explained to him. After hearing, he said, you are right, what you're doing, what you're saying is right, and what's happening is not correct, but I can't stop.
Because he was not, Kamal Nath was too powerful politically.
For him even also. So I said, then at least give us two spaces. One, that we record everything on file. Bring out everything, and including the violation which is being done, blatant violation which is being done. And second, he said, I would convene the meeting. And I said, then we should have a right in that meeting to point out before everyone that this is what is happening. So he said, okay, you would have the right to speak in the meeting, to bring it to the notice. So we got these two small
victories or consolation prizes. Did anything change?
Nothing. So the meeting got convened. Mr. Kamal Nath said, no, this is all, we have done it for this and all. And the whole thing was approved. But what changed was that everything came on record. We minutized it also. And for the time I was there, remaining next 2-3 months, nothing like this came. So I don't know whether
it continued after you were not in that department. Now, Chandrababu Naidu, that's an important story. You felt that, or not you felt, you found that there was, in your estimation, a disproportionate percentage of World Bank project funds going to then undivided Andhra Pradesh.
Correct.
And you raised this and you said it was, you were really taken aback by how one state was being prioritized, and Mr. Naidu was very angry. So tell us that story.
See, what is our concept of public interest? We are public servants. What is public servants' job? I think it's to serve the public interest. And when you find a situation where more than 40-50% of the funds are going to one state, which also doesn't happen to be one of the poorer states where the funds are more meant to go, then you feel that it's the travesty of the public interest. So when I found this, I said, let me record this. I recorded the whole thing. These are facts. There is nothing opinion or judgmental about it. These are facts. So I brought this all on record. Something like this might happening in other departments as well, right? But what I'm dealing with is what I brought it up. And when this matter reached to the additional secretary and the secretary, they also, on the basis of the evidence, they're all aware that Mr. Naidu was trying to grab as much of the central resources as possible, leveraging his political support for Mr. Vajpayee's government. So they said, all right, this is there. Let's bring the matter to the PMO's notice. So the file went to the Prime Minister's office with all these facts. And the Prime Minister's office made to which I would say, more of a balanced kind of, that all right, now try to correct this, such an imbalance which existed, which gave me the authority not to sort of push more of Andhra projects and in a way even delay the new ones coming up. That is where I think Mr. Naidu got angry that here.
So how did he express his anger?
So, and the matter then came to a head. So he was cornering more resources. He also wanted the resources to go in a manner which was also not in accordance with the rules. So just to give you one instance, there was one structural adjustment loan proposal for Andhra Pradesh, which was funded from two sources. One was the World Bank. So World Bank money comes as loan to us. And we had a system of giving that as 70% loan and 30% grant to the state on the rearranged terms. And then there was 100 million odd of the grant, pure grant coming from DFID, the UK agency. And so these two, the system sort of mixed them up and total amount was given as 70-30. What Mr. Naidu wanted was that the grant should go to him as 100% grant and the loan should come as 70% loan and 30% grant. This was unfair. This was also violative, unprecedented. It was not part of the system. And maybe he had convinced the World Bank, DFID, and I don't know because that's not in my personal knowledge, the higher-ups here, right? So when I went to negotiate that project with the World Bank, and I said, no, both these streams will go as 70% loan and 30% grant. They said, no, we have all talked about the loan will go as this and the grant will go as 100% grant. I said, no, that is not I'm going to sign on. That is not going to work. They felt a little upset because their brief was that it all go through. They caught Mr. Naidu, who was perhaps in Ireland at that time, and they told that the officer is not budging. The officer is not budging. What he has told is take or leave it. Either this standard arrangement or no negotiations. So Mr. Naidu perhaps thinking that he will sort the matter out once he is back, said, all right, whatever is being done as per the standard arrangement. And we drew the minutes, everything was negotiated, deal was done. And next day or next 48 hours, he comes back, he speaks to the political bosses. My boss, the Secretary Economic Affairs, Mr. Vasudeva, calls me to say, ye kya hai? What is this? So I said, this is what it is. He said, acha, theek hai, send the file to me. So I sent the file to him, recording everything. It comes back by saying, with the finance minister's approval, that let the grant be given as grant, 100% grant, an exception be made. Now, once this kind of decision has been taken, I have no further locus standi.
But you recorded your dissent. Yeah.
But this kind of, that a negotiated document can be upturned and renegotiated. In the World Bank, it was renegotiated. That all right, this is. And but I had no serious issue in the sense that once a decision has been taken officially, because the government of India could have changed its policy of saying that grants can go as 100% grant. So fair enough. To me, that perhaps was the end of the matter. But since there were other projects which were being delayed or postponed, I think that is what made Mr.
Chandrababu
Naidu to first try how to fix. So he tried through bureaucrats. Is there a way to sort of fix him? If not, then later on I was told that he asked my transfer. So all that happens.
And one gets used to it.
One is always used to. I had spent 25 years of service by the time, or 20 years of service by the time one came to this stage. And even in earlier times, on many occasions. So it's part for the course. It's part of the.
Let's talk about one of the issues in government over which there has been a veritable storm, and that is surplus funds of the RBI.
Correct.
Right? Now, you document in this book, you've also documented to some degree in your earlier book, the loggerheads that the Modi government and Urjit Patel come to on this issue. And that at one point, the Prime Minister uses the metaphor of a snake sort of presiding over his hoarded wealth, and actually says to Urjit Patel that, this is like a samp, jo apne. What is the exact phrase?
The naak ki tarah, सांप की तरह क्यों कुंडली मार के बैठे हो? That is.
जो dispute है वो ये है कि surplus funds RBI के जो हैं वो government use कर सकती है या नहीं, to what extent, right? Am I saying it correctly?
So RBI generates profits, which is known as surplus.
Yes.
And the law says that the surplus should be transferred to the government.
Yeah.
RBI wanted to retain a part of it.
Yeah.
And that is what led to this.
Yes. Where do you weigh in on this debate?
See,
earlier, all of the funds, as you write in your book, they used to be accessible to government. Now, Urjit Patel was very exercised over this, right? You actually didn't agree with him. That's what you write in your book, that you did not agree with Urjit Patel's position.
So it started with Raghuram Raje. That is where a formula called economic capital framework was designed, that under what circumstances, how much of the surplus should be transferred to the government, how much should be retained. And that is, but it came to fructify when Mr. Urjit Patel was the governor. And I happened to be attending that meeting, that first time when the part of the money was being retained by the Reserve Bank and not given. Obviously, I could not have agreed to it. There was differences. Ultimately, that led to formation of that Bimal Jalan committee. Committee made certain recommendations and all.
But you didn't agree with the findings of that committee.
Of course, in the committee, there was an attempt to again serve the RBI's objective of retaining. That is what the dispute became. And fair enough, there is a well laid down system that if majority of the committee members feel it one way, that becomes the kind of decision. So it was in fact an overwhelming kind of majority in their favor. It was 5-1. But then there is also one more sort of established precedent if even a single member doesn't feel like that this is the correct decision, he or she can record a dissent note. So I wanted to record a dissent note. That's all which I was asking. And in fact, this was agreed, and I had drafted. It was becoming of the versions of the report that belonged until Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman came. And so that dissent note, my sense is that there was discomfort in RBI about the dissent note, because if that go into the public domain, and the kind of reasoning and facts which have been brought out in that, I think a lot of people would have concluded that the majority decision was not a correct decision.
But actually, your view was that of the government.
Absolutely.
So it's ironic what happens later.
Correct.
How did Urjit Patel respond to the Prime Minister's use of this Sampwala metaphor?
So that also, you see, that day, so they were simultaneously, when this issue was being discussed, so Prime Minister said this, but the main dispute that day was that there was a committee, RBI board was to meet again to discuss that.
Yeah.
And we had asked for a special meeting of board of the RBI to be convened to discuss this matter. So, which he was resisting. He was not convening that meeting. So, after Mr. Patel heard from the Prime Minister, so I thought maybe now his mind would change. So, when the meeting was over, I just asked him that, are you convening this special meeting now? He said, no, I'm not doing it. Though he convened it later on, but at the moment, so to respond to what, obviously he took it in stride, so to say, and he sincerely believed, possibly, that it is right for
the RBI to determine the surplus. Now, Urjit Patel also objects strenuously, though eventually assents on the electoral bonds.
Correct.
Right? And you, Arun Jaitley, who really believed in these electoral bonds, and it's important to say the Supreme Court has, of course, said that they're absolutely, a kind of conflict of interest in politics and has struck them down. But Urjit Patel eventually agrees, but is not comfortable with the idea.
So
he says if the State Bank of India wants to do it, then...
No, this is much bigger flip-flop.
Okay.
So, when it was announced in February budget, RBI was not comfortable as the Election Commission was not comfortable.
Yeah.
And that was going on.
Yeah.
When I joined in July, 4 months had already gone. And still those differences were not resolved. Right.
So the RBI was against the electoral bond scheme.
RBI thought that this is a kind of bearer bond, a kind of currency note, which can be misused. So when I joined, and I was convinced that this is a better option than what the current system was of cash. Being sort of used for giving the political funding, I convened a meeting with RBI. I said, let us discuss. What is your problem? And can we sort that out? So like when this was discussed, and when they said that this will be misused, it can be a bearer bond, anybody can sort of circulate this as and can become an instrument of circulating black kind of thing. So I said, how do you arrest that? How do you solve that? And then in the discussion, it emerged that if it is for a very short term and issued in a manner where you don't have the opportunity to use it very often, then that issue would be addressed. So likewise, whatever other issues the Reserve Bank had, we discussed and found a consensus solution, which was agreed by both. And that is when we took that matter formally for approval of the Finance Minister and also the Prime Minister. And we were on board, we clearly felt that RBI is completely on board. And once the Prime Minister had approved the scheme, so to say, At that stage, only for drafting the notification, my joint secretary sent it to the RBI for getting the draft. We could have drafted ourselves also, but as is the habit of the government sending it to the associated officer, it was sent to the RBI. At that stage, RBI governor had a change of mind, and he said, "No, it's not on." And he said he came up with an alternative thing. He said only digital bonds and to be issued by RBI.
Yeah.
Now, then when this kind of communication came from the Reserve Bank, this was virtual unraveling of the electoral bond scheme. If you have an electronic trail and the bond is issued only at one place, the whole purpose of that electoral bond scheme, that the borrower or the buyers of the bond who gave it to the political party, the system shouldn't know that who is given to whom.
The anonymity principle, which I'll come to in a moment. But you are saying that Urjit Patel flip-flopped on the electoral bond.
Yeah, so when he said this, there was another meeting with the finance minister, and at one stage he even threatened to. So he said that I can be like Raghuram Rajan, who had on another occasion, after a proposal had gone into the finance bill, had objected to it. And the government had withdrawn that. That's a separate matter.
And he said that like Raghuram Rajan,
I can also sort of change this and insist that this cannot be done. So
but he did not do that eventually.
So we Arun Jaitley tried to reason with him. We explained him. A couple of things went in, and he was using an internal committee of RBI to get those kind of decisions. So I joined that meeting also. And after sort of sensing that he was asking for something which is not sound and which will kill the scheme, then he again changed his mind and said, all right, let it go.
But do you believe that he resigned over nobody knows the exact reason for his sudden resignation, right?
See, I thought the matter is more or less settled. Once that Economic Capital Framework Committee was constituted, when this was done, I think the strawman has blown over, something of that sort. This was all happening in September, October. November was quiet. There was not many issues, so to say. The committee had been constituted. And so when he resigned in December, it's a bit of surprise.
But do you have any guesses as to what the tipping point may have been?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I tried to ask him, but he didn't respond. So I can't even guess.
Begin to guess. Why. On the bonds itself, your position on this is obviously well known. But after the Supreme Court's intervention, when all of the public information is now available of who gave to whom, how much, and you can link back to questions around policy, right? So that is the sort of conflict of interest, the quid pro quo that the Supreme Court had flagged. Now, with all of this information in the public domain, do you believe you were right to support the electoral bonds?
Absolutely.
Why? Isn't the for example, we have all of these Aurobindo Pharma. There are many examples, and across the board, across political parties, in state governments, at the center, wherever you look, as they say, there are no free lunches. So if somebody is giving you money, they're expecting something in return.
Correct.
And of course, there is a larger issue of how should politics be financed, and I don't have an ideal answer to that. But anonymity, to keep it secret, why is that something that is, according to you, something you have supported?
See, for two reasons. Number one, this enabled the political donations to sort of shift from cash to book. Imagine if it was not there, and like it is not today, all of this money would have come definitely to the political class in either cash form or simply under the table.
But this is also a variation of under the table because nobody knows.
That's what I'm coming to. So that is first thing, it converted that wretchedly bad system into something which is more, which
documented.
is in the books. which is
documented.
Which is documented, which is in the books. You're buying from the bank by using the legitimate resources, you're giving it. And on top of it, the political party is accounting for it completely and using it legitimately for the person. So this is one reason. The second reason is much bigger. You see, quid pro quo or anything is outside the electoral bonds. Somebody has wrangled some contract or has got some favor, and he or she is trying to return that favor by giving money to the politician. So the crime or what is objectionable is there. What electoral bond in a way did, and you may thank the electoral bonds for that purpose, that now you have a trail of money transfer in every specific company which donated. And you can relate it now that if they donated, was there in their operation something?
But it was not accessible to the public at large till the Supreme Court intervened.
Of course, that is why I'm saying today
Yes.
it is. So
Today it is.
that is what. But if it was not there, the money would have even gone. There would have been no way to form.
So you're saying it is the least of all evil options in political financing?
I said this is a very legitimate middle ground.
It's buried now by the Supreme Court, so we'll pick it up another time. Towards the end, I want to talk a little bit about tariffs. We have to talk about tariffs. We are talking at a time when Donald Trump has not just imposed the 25% tariff that he threatened, but he's added a so-called penalty, penalizing or almost blackmailing India on the issue of purchasing oil from Russia. And there has been uncouth, coarse language. He has called India a dead economy. For India now, this presents not just economic questions, but also strategic questions. Because the only counter to a bully is to have a stronger and stronger and stronger power play. And that power play can only come from being a stronger and stronger economy. How do you look at what Trump has done, and how do you think India should respond?
See, I think we discussed it in one of your shows initially.
Yes. But this announcement had not come then. Yes.
The India-US deal, which Trump was trying to wrangle for United States, was a complete disaster if it had happened for India.
Yeah.
Right. On all the four things which he is wrangling out from anywhere else, take my goods at 0%, pay me 15 to 30% tariff, buy my planes, defense, oil, etc., and invest in America, billions of dollars. These are the four things he is getting from everywhere else. We were not in a position to give any one of them. And therefore, a deal with America, or Trump for that matter, was an impossibility right from the beginning. And therefore...
So all is nonsense of a deal being offered in exchange for the ceasefire. Where is the deal?
It was a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was always a waste of time. I don't know why our people couldn't figure out that they are trying to chase something which if it happens, would be a completely losing game. Now, to your other point, he's abusing, he's using obnoxious languages, etc., etc. That, to my mind, shows his frustration that he couldn't get the deal he wanted from India.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So we should take it that way. Can someone sort of make him do something which is in the interest of the other party? It's like Barkha today, using a kind of cricketing analogy, that Trump is batting as well as bowling. And the other side is only doing fielding. The other side has no offensive interest, no defensive interest. He is just trying to save whatever it can save. Let it not go to boundary or something. That is the... Unless you have a power where you can be a player, a batter or a bowler, so to say, rather than doing only like China has. If you can turn off the critical minerals, the Americans will suffer. If you turn off your computer supply and etc., the Americans will suffer, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have any of those leverage. That is our weakness.
So we have no leverage in this?
Unfortunately, that is the fact. That's why we get sort of such a bad deal even with China. Why are we running 100 billion deficit with China? We have surplus with America, but we have big deficit. Because we on technology, whether it's solar, EVs, semiconductors, or anything, we have no sort of that kind of leverage. So in such a situation, to my mind, the safest and the best course is not to do a deal. That's what I have been asking for all the time.
So basically, to not do a deal, would you say India should walk out of these negotiations?
Absolutely. It should not have even gone. Today, you play a waiting game. Don't do anything. Let him use all those kind of rowdy eloquence which he has been using. Just ignore it.
You know, I said more from a place of sentiment than strategy that India should just walk out of these negotiations. And I was told by a lot of diplomats that that's a hot-headed response. You are saying India should walk out because there's nothing to be gained here.
Exactly. Retaliatory is a different thing. You can't even retaliate, because if you retaliate, you will be hurting only your consumers.
So what would walking out mean?
Walking out means don't negotiate. You just let the business go on as it is.
But then the tariffs still stand.
No problem. So if what happens now, 25% tariffs, right? Let us take it this way. These are the tariffs which the American government would impose on the imports which come to the America, right? Mm-hmm. The key question would be that who pays for those tariffs? There are three parties. One is our exporters, the other one is the importers, and the third one is the American consumers. These are the three guys, right? If you start taking the load of the tariffs and reduce your prices by that to save your export, you would in any case lose whatever profits you're making. It's a nonsense of an export. So don't reduce your prices. If the Americans want that product, fair enough. Americans need those products. Those consumers, America doesn't produce what Americans eat today or use or consume. It's dependent on the
So you are saying walk away from the table, accept his tariff?
You don't have to accept. There is nothing to accept.
Just carry on.
Just carry on.
Just carry on
your business.
Where does this leave? So there's also geopolitical questions here, right? There was the entire Quad, which saw India as a countervailing force to China. Trump has slapped tariffs on China, but Trump is exactly the kind of leader who can also cut a deal with China.
Correct.
In terms of India-China relationships, there's a big debate over, Chinese goods flooding our market. Should there actually be greater protectionism when it comes to China and so on? Where do you see, if we were to walk away from these negotiations with Trump, where does that leave, let's say, India-China?
See, one has to go into the specifics and basics of it. What do we import from China? Can we do without it? Does anyone else can supply those things to us at a cheaper cost? We don't. Answer to all of them would be that you don't have any option other than doing business. What we should do is to learn to do better business with China. You can't replace that. What happened to your EV industry? When they cut out these magnets, your EV industry is collapsing. What will happen to the electricity program
of pharmaceuticals,
or for that matter, pharmaceuticals? So electricity generation. If you don't take cells and the wafers and the modules from Chinese, where would your alternative electricity will come from? So you are boxed into a situation where let us not mix the politics with business. Unfortunately, in our country, our politicians are trying to do business. They don't understand most of it and mess up the whole thing. That is the problem.
So before we let you go, to come back to the book, which is called No Minister, I think what a lot of young UPSC aspirants would want to know listening to this is what was once called the steel frame of India. Is it really possible, in the way power is structured, in the nature of how power is organized, is it really possible for bureaucrats to stand up to politicians?
See, the relationship is not that simple.
It's not black and white.
In the early days of the civil servants, first 10, 15 years, most of the civil servants are implementing the programs and the policies. They're not framing policies. At that stage, the power to do a thing actually lies in the hands of the civil servant. The ministers and the politicians would try to influence you, that give it to my people, not others, or favor my people, or chhod dijiye my criminals from the thana, or the other kind of things, right? At that stage, all authority is in your hands. If you want to exercise, you can exercise. The politician or the minister can only transfer you. If you don't treat the transfer as a punishment kind of thing or as a loss to you, to my mind, every position is same post, same pay and other benefits are there, you would have that steel in you and you can actually do it. In later part of the career, when you are participating in policy decisions or making programs, etc., that is where the relationship gets more nuanced. Because the authority to decide is with the political. Whereas you are more in advisory positions, more in, right.
So in junior positions, you can do more change. Basically,
you
autonomous.
Autonomy. You can prove the steel much more.
Then as you rise up the ranks.
But Barkha, in the later part, the steel or your contribution actually comes if you have a knowledge. If you know the subject, if you can find better alternatives to do what the politicians otherwise will fall back. I have described in great detail how we could persuade Vasundhara Raje to go for that Bhamashah scheme in place of giving away the populist thing like free atta and the free electricity, etc. It was a risky proposition for her. To accept 6 to 9 months before the election, an unknown commodity that you don't know whether it can be delivered or not. But the way it was presented, I think she got convinced that she could take that risk. So I think in the later part, the civil servant's strength comes from how able, knowledgeable, strong arguments, better alternatives they can present, then they can have their way. But if you are only doing the bidding of the minister or the prime minister, or if you are interested only to come up what will please the boss, then you are not actually doing stuff.
Well, hence your book is called No Minister. Thank you, Subhash Gargji. It's been a fascinating conversation. For those who haven't read the book, do pick up your copy of No Minister. It provides a really riveting insight into how power is wielded, a bureaucrat's role, and also talks about your years from being a young bureaucrat in Rajasthan all the way up to the center and being a finance secretary. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us.
Thank you. All of my pleasure. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.